So the third anniversary of PSVR 2 just went by, and yet again we get another video saying about PSVR 2 being dead. And I'm going to talk about all that in a minute, because this video isn't just about PSVR 2, because this guy's take, while I actually believe he's kind of correct, and I don't actually think that making videos like that help the situation, it's such a blinkered opinion on one system, because in fact, I actually think that situation is across all VR in terms of what this guy's talking about. Where are the first party games coming from, and what are going to be the big games for VR going forward?
Where are the games? I'm not diminishing any of the people that are out there releasing games, because I think there are still great games out there, but the problem is you need the big games to get people to come in.
And I think it's going to be a problem across VR in general, not just PlayStation VR. I don't think PSVR 2 is dead. It's definitely not going to be getting any more first party support, I don't believe, from Sony. I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is probably the last thing that they're going to fund. But as we know, the back catalogue is absolutely amazing. There's lots of new titles coming. But last month, or beginning of this month, should I say, I made a new VR games video, and I was very surprised at the end of that video that there wasn't that many Quest games. There was actually, I would say 80-90% of that video was PCVR and PSVR 2. Now, as we know, there is lots of games coming. None of them, I don't think, are something, at least as we know right now, something we should consider as AAA. You know, the sort of games that gamers outside of VR would be coming into VR to play. But as I say that, there are some games still on the horizon, such as Gunman Contracts, Exoshock, which is a team I'm working with personally. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think, will be something that a lot of people outside of VR will want to play. And we have The Boys Trigger Warning. So because that carries the name The Boys, like an official brand, there will be some coverage outside of the normal VR channels. But a lot of these games, like Gunman Contracts, Exoshock and other games, they're actually also trying to support not only every VR platform, they're also coming to flat screen. And that's because they know that if they want, say, the multiplayer side of the game to survive, or they just want other people to experience their games, they've also got to make it available to be able to be playable on a Steam Deck, for example, on consoles and on PC. We're not getting Resident Evil 9 Requiem, at least officially at the moment. We're not getting it on PSVR 2. So then it comes down to mods. Recently, that's why I upgraded my PC, because I do believe that PCVR mods are going to play a really big part, probably a bigger part than ever on VR survival, especially over the next 2 years, because a problem we don't have is hardware. We are getting so much new and good hardware, and I don't want to downplay the importance of new hardware, because I'll never forget the first time I experienced Half-Life Alyx on the Pimax Crystal. That felt like a completely different game. Visually, it's surprising how much visual fidelity, field of view, things like that really change the immersion of a VR experience. There's some people who are talking about Steam Frame, and I just want to mention this because I'm always on the virtual reality Reddit and Steam Frame Reddit, that are still going to be coming from an original Oculus Rift or even the Rift S. And I'm thinking to myself, guys, you are going to be shocked. The fact that screen door is nearly a thing of the past. Screen door is something you can never ignore once you've got past it. For example, getting my Quest 3, I remember thinking I'd love to get another Rift S just to play VR mods on. Dude, I used that headset for about 5 minutes and I just resold it again because the screen door was so severe. So I think getting amazing new headsets like Bigscreen, Pimax Dream Air, for example, Steam Frame and other headsets like that are going to definitely reinvigorate or re-energize people's passion for VR, because honestly, going back to your old back catalogue with new headsets is definitely something everyone should do. But without software to back that hardware up, it's going to be difficult times. I can see that a lot of new people may be coming into VR, especially with Steam Frame. They're quite lucky. Like, there's a whole back catalogue of games that you can explore. There are thousands of VR games and there are hundreds of good VR games. I think one of the best years we had was 2024. 2024 came out with some massive big games that basically echoed across all of gaming social media. 2025 I thought was pretty good as well. I had a great time personally. I don't know what really shook the foundations for VR gaming wise. Deadpool didn't really hit that high note that I think most people expected. But we still have games delivering new content. For example, No Man's Sky, constant updates. Hitman VR got improved for PC VR and it came to PSVR 2 and it is glorious, and we're still getting new content to play in VR. And I think we shouldn't forget that Star Citizen's VR mode is quite a big deal, especially to those developers. They really believe in VR and they believe their game will be best experienced in VR. They want their players, the millions of players that are already playing Star Citizen, to finally be inside their game and visit those planets and explore ships in a way that's never been possible before. And they're still working on that mode. And I think that should be championed. I think that's something that's really important, that game as big as Star Citizen is still trying to push virtual reality. So now in 2026, I just wanted to talk about basically that software is going to be where the problem lies. And I think that's going to be the hardest thing for anyone to overcome when they get new hardware, for example, and they're not sure what to play. That's why channels like mine and others do the best 50 games, like the best VR games, the best free VR games, things like that, because you want to let people know what's out there and what's good. I've noticed with Steam Frame, a lot of people are saying like this is just like a little bit of a glorified Quest 3. And that is true. Like there's no two ways about it. People are asking, why is it worth paying that sort of money for? And this kind of ties back into everything that I think VR is going towards. One of the best things that I found with Steam Frame, which I didn't expect, was actually playing 2D games using a VR headset. It was a really good experience, I think mainly due to the controllers and also the weight of the headset. Going back to Quest 3, it feels like double the weight of the Steam Frame because it kind of drags your head down. It's very front heavy. And that makes it quite a hard sell to say to someone, listen, do you just want to sit back and play 2D games in a VR headset, all the while that you're always knowing that you're in a headset, that you've got that front weight. And I think that's where Steam Frame is going to really shine for some people. Plus there's the possibility that we'll be able to play some of these 2D games in 3D. That might be a really big push. But overall, I think with Steam Frame and all VR headsets in general at the moment, there's going to be a real drought of top-notch titles, which is why I went a bit all in on my PC to play VR mods, because VR mods at the moment kind of scratch that itch for me where I want something really high quality. So for example, I already know that at some point, like guaranteed, there is going to be a VR mod for Requiem. There's no two ways about it. It's definitely going to happen with Prey Dog's RE mod. I've already played Resident Evil 2. I think it was Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 4 now, only the other week. It's guaranteed to happen. So when it comes to which platform I bought Resident Evil 9 on, I actually have gone for Steam. Because I do believe that the only way I'm ever going to experience that game, because of the official announcement from Capcom saying there's no VR mode, doesn't mean I'm not hopeful for it. The only way I'll be playing Resident Evil 9 in VR this year is with Steam. So I think basically the conversation about what hardware is better, I think the other conversation no one's talking about is where are we going to get our games from? One thing I'm worried about with the Quest side of things, because a lot of people are asking about standalone. It's great that Meta have now removed all the Horizon stuff and the store is now available to developers to be more visible to buyers. But what I'm worried about is what games are they going to want to buy that they might not own already? That's kind of my thought. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2026 for VR gaming. So there it is. There's my take on the VR gaming situation. I'm not down about it. I actually think that there is so much good VR already behind us, and I do think we're going to have some great VR games coming in the future. But I also believe we're kind of going back to the old days of when Rift first started, where it's a bit of a wild west. We don't know what's going to happen next. We've Meta shutting down those studios, saying they're going to fund third-party games, which is great, and I do expect that Virgo Games and other teams like that are going to be bringing us some new VR games for 2026, possibly 2027. I still think there's going to be some really big gaps where people are wondering what is there to shout about at the moment, and that's why I think new VR hardware is going to play a really significant part in people suddenly being wowed all over again by VR. But thank you ever so much for watching. I look forward to reading your comments as always. Thank you to anyone who likes and subscribes on this video, and I'll see you on the next one.